I believe that the Keres Legion were responsible for the attacks which happened in Rainbow Six Vegas 1 and 2, and that we might actually be returning to Vegas very soon in Rainbow Six lore. Now, as I am recording this video, I am also working on my entire lore video for Rainbow Six 1999, and we're obviously going to eventually get to the Vegas games as well. So since that video isn't out yet, I'm going to do a quick recap of Vegas's lore for those of you who have not played it. So Vegas 1 and 2 run in parallel to each other and tell the same story of the attacks which happened in Vegas on the 2nd and 3rd of July 2010. Some of the missions in Vegas 2 take place before Vegas 1, and then some of them take place parallel and then after. So chronologically, the games sort of merge together in different ways. It isn't a direct prequel and it isn't a direct sequel, but I'm going to quickly explain it in a more chronological sense. So before any of the attacks start in Vegas, we start the story 5 years prior in 2005 in the Pyrenees Mountains in France. Rainbow are deployed to a science observatory where a group of European hostages are being held. Domingo Chavez leads the Alpha team here, whilst we play as Bravo team, who is being commanded by Bishop and contains his 2 trainees, Logan Keller and Gabriel Novak. Rainbow's plan here is to send in a negotiator to try and find some peace with the terrorists, but use this as a distraction, giving Rainbow time to get into position to take the terrorists out. All of this is seemingly going to plan until Gabriel opens fire on the terrorists prematurely, resulting in the death of the negotiator, Lieutenant Monroe. They did manage to save the hostages, but this was by all means a failure, all because of Gabriel. Chavez wanted Gabriel to be discharged for this, but Bishop protected him, which eventually allowed Gabriel to stay in Rainbow. As time would go on, Bishop would promote Logan to team leader, something that Gabriel thought should have happened to him instead. Despite Bishop protecting Gabriel and being the reason that he's even still in Rainbow, Gabriel, consumed by his own ego, would start to grow a hatred for Logan, Bishop, and Rainbow. But we cut to 2010, where a massive terrorist attack is about to happen in Vegas. And there are 3 main antagonistic groups who are at play for these attacks. The first one is Irina Morales. She is the leader of a terrorist cell in Mexico and is the main person behind the Vegas attacks itself. But there's something important you need to know here. Irina is a freelance terrorist. In 2003, she bombed the French embassy in Bogota. But just like how she was hired to orchestrate the attack in Bogota, she was hired to do the Vegas attacks as well. And what we know in the story is that she was hired by an unknown group. This group is not revealed in either Vegas 1 or 2. To this day, we don't know who hired Irina Morales to attack Vegas. I think you can see where this theory may start to fit together, but let's continue with Vegas's lore. So chronologically, the majority of missions in Vegas 2 take place before Vegas 1, where we see Bishop alongside 2 other operators, Jung Park and Michael Walter, deployed in Vegas with a joint operation alongside the National Security Agency, after 2 human traffickers, Miguel and Alvarez Cabrero, have suddenly came up in small arms trafficking and chemical weapons. It is here where Bishop and his team are sent in to investigate the matter. At the same time, Six, who is Domingo Chavez, informs Bishop that Logan and his team are currently running a separate operation down in Mexico. Now, that operation in Mexico involves them hunting down Irina Morales. Again, we're at a point before Vegas has even been properly attacked, and we even know that she's linked to it. But Logan's team consists of Gabriel, which you can imagine is another reason why Gabriel has a bit of jealousy, and his ego cannot handle the fact that Logan got promoted and is now commanding him, as well as Khan Akahashi. Now, this operation in Mexico goes south, and both Khan and Gabriel end up MIA and taken hostage by Irina. At the same time all of this is happening, Bishop's team are running around Vegas, following leads, chasing bomb threats, finding nothing, until eventually a chemical weapon was set off and civilians died. The threat level starts to escalate in Vegas, and Logan is safely extracted from Mexico, but Khan and Gabriel are missing. Meanwhile, back in Vegas, Bishop and his team are able to kill Miguel and prevent a bomb from exploding. And after Bishop is fed some information from an NSA agent, Bishop goes off on his own to track down the final brother and try and put an end to these attacks. Chavez replaces Bishop with Logan now taking command of both Jung and Mike, With the events in Vegas already fully underway, and Logan now entering this active situation where there are hostages and bombs all over Vegas. This is much more than what the Cabrera brothers were doing, and we learn that they were simply pawns which Gabriel has been using to distract Rainbow and take Bishop on a wild goose chase. Yes, Gabriel was actually working with Irina Morales, and he orchestrated his capture in Mexico. He was a mole for Irina, and although Gabriel didn't orchestrate the attacks in Vegas, he saw the opportunity to get back at Rainbow, Logan, and Bishop and took it. Self-consumed by his ego, he didn't even really care that he was actually a pawn for Irina. If he could get back at his team, he would. Now, all of these attacks in Vegas, Gabriel using the Cabrera brothers to distract the NSA in Rainbow, Irina's terrorists also causing havoc in Rainbow, terror across the city itself. This was just a distraction so Irina and her terrorists could set up missiles in the Nevada dam and blow up Vegas. The plan was, if they cause enough terror in Vegas, it will draw enough authorities away that they won't have enough to prevent them at the dam itself. Now, the final Cabrera brother was killed by Gabriel in a form of betrayal. Gabriel was using him, and Irina was also using Gabriel. The brothers were being paid by Gabriel. Gabriel got to stroke his own ego by getting back at Rainbow, and Irina was just exploiting the fact that Gabriel was willing to be her mole, which then benefited her cause as well. Now, Logan, Michael, and Jung would be able to find Can and Gabriel, who were still being held hostage. At this time, they didn't know that Gabriel was a part of this and was just pretending to be captured. But unfortunately, Can would be killed, not before relaying the information to Logan that they're attacking the Nevada dam. Logan, Mike, and Jung would be able to stop Irina's plan before she was able to bomb Vegas, just in the nick of time, and Irina would be killed. With the Cabrera brothers dead, Irina dead, there was just one person left, and that was Gabriel. Now, Gabriel fled to Costa Rica, where he was selling Rainbow's information and weapons on the black market to unknown buyers. Bishop learns this information and disobeys Six's orders because Chavez has just seen what's happened. He's lost men. There's been so many innocent people killed. He wants to bring the team back to Hereford, reevaluate the situation. But Bishop goes against his orders and travels to Costa Rica, where Michael and Jung also agree to go with him. The trio would make their way through this luxurious compound, where they would face off against Gabriel's men as well as these private buyers. More Rainbow operatives would arrive at the scene, who were being led by Logan, who all also disobeyed Chavez's orders, and they were also there to help stop Gabriel. The team would begin to take control of the compound, and after facing off against an attack helicopter, Bishop would come face to face with Gabriel, giving him one last chance, but finally ending everything once and for all. So that was a very quick summary of the Vegas 1 and 2 games. I am going to have an in-depth video where we go through all the details, all the characters, every mission. You know, there's a lot of stuff I glazed over there. That's a very surface level review of it. But something very important you must take from that is that the main terrorist of the Vegas attacks was Irina. Her and her group were paid to attack Vegas. Gabriel didn't orchestrate any of it. He was simply just Irina's mole in Rainbow, and he wanted to get back with his own personal vendetta. That's what he had to gain, as well as money by selling Rainbow information. But his goal was to make Rainbow look bad, and he took that opportunity to help Irina to do that. But it wasn't his operation. And the Cabrera brothers were even more of a pawn. Gabriel hired them, and when the last surviving brother asked him about the payment, Gabriel killed him. But there is still no answer at the top of the chain for who any of this was. The person above Irina is unknown, or shall I say, the group. Well, let's fast forward 2 years later to 2012, where another Rainbow operator will defect from the team, and that is Gerald Morris. Sure, a lot of you know how his story goes. He defects from Rainbow, becomes Deimos, and is a current antagonist in the story as we speak. But when Gerald kills Daniel Bogart, injures Keres, and blows up the facility, faking his death, he is extracted by an unknown group. We can assume that this is the Keres Legion, but more likely a very early version of them. The soldiers here could also be other Rainbow defectors. There's still a lot about the Keres Legion's origins we don't know yet, but they seem to already have some form of structure by this time. This seems like something which Gerald was working with for a while now, hence why he knew he was going to be picked up from this facility. And with the Vegas attacks only being 2 years prior to this, I don't think it's crazy to assume that this group was active during this time as well. Again, I'm saying this group as in the Keres Legion, but probably a very early version of them. But where does this all come into play with Vegas? I mean, it could have been another unknown group who orchestrated the Vegas attack and hired Irina, but it's also a high possibility that it could have been the Keres Legion. It could have been Rainbow Defectors. It could have been some complete other entity we don't know yet. At the end of Vegas 2, Jung learns that they are selling their personal information. Gabriel was selling their family info, their names, where they live. Would it be far-fetched to assume that this group here is the beginning of the Keres Legion? What we're seeing, these ordnance being stolen and sold, is building up to this group which we now know. But a lot of that is ifs and buts. There is something in the lore right now that can connect all of this, and that is the Keres Legion's list. The list which Dokkaebi stole from the Keres Legion. A list which the Keres Legion values so much that they captured Dokkaebi and interrogated her, and even Phobos was like talking about how important that list is and how did you get it. Well, we know that list has a lot of information on it. I mean, Deimos can provide a lot of that information. He was once in Rainbow, so he knows where their base is, such as Hereford. But we also had some information being sold by Gabriel at the end of Vegas 2. But here is a big kicker here. One of the things we know for a fact that was on the Keres Legion's list was the Las Vegas Convention Center. The same Las Vegas Convention Center which was a component of the Vegas attacks. And may I add, it was the monorail station at this convention center in which the bomb was planted and then was going to be used to drive the monorail away and blow up buildings and, central streets. Why would the Keres Legion have the Las Vegas Convention Center on their list? Why would that be on any form of their database? Well, if they were involved in the Vegas attacks and they were part of this orchestration that went on, then surely they would need to have that written down. They'd have that plan there. They would have been providing this information to the terrorists they were using. Why would information be on the Keres Legion's lists if this was a completely different terrorist attack? Granted, it could be from a Rainbow perspective and that Rainbow were deployed there, so obviously that's information Rainbow would have secured and would have logged, but it just feels too coincidental to be that case. We have an unknown group who orchestrated the Vegas attacks, who hired Irina to do it, which Gabriel exploited to try and tarnish Rainbow's reputation. There could be more to Gabriel's plan that they could add. We may not know what Gabriel was also doing in the background here. He could have a lot to do with the Keres Legion. And also, during these Vegas attacks, there were, more traditional explosives used from time to time, but they were also using these more advanced micro pulse bombs, which could have easily wiped city blocks clean. And something we just learned in Rainbow Six Siege's lore is that the Keres Legion are developing something known as the prototype. We don't know what this exactly is, but it does seem to be an advanced bomb. I mean, if you've even played Dual Front, that's what the third objective is. They are 3D printing the prototype. And the Las Vegas Convention Center is once again brought up by Solace in the most recent Battle Pass as well, which does imply to me that Rainbow may potentially send a team to Vegas just to follow the leads which are on the Keres Legion's list. It doesn't even necessarily mean that the Keres Legion are attacking Vegas. Like I said, I feel like it is on the list because they were involved with the attacks which happened in 2010. But if Rainbow sends a team there, there may be some information which was missed 10 years ago or something which is going to be relevant to the current plot. I feel like the lore is heading in a direction where Vegas's attacks and what happened in Vegas are going to become very relevant, and there is more than enough room for the narrative to work here that it was the Keres Legion. They've actually got a very open box to do it. The Vegas 1 and 2 writers did not say who was orchestrating the Vegas attack. They literally left that open. So it can easily be the Keres Legion. It would make sense with the entire narrative, and I have a feeling that is the route they are going to be going. I also think that opens the door for maybe like Bishop or Logan to become a playable operator in the future. Or maybe not even playable, but relevant to the narrative itself. Heck, I wouldn't mind even hearing something from Domingo Chavez, and I actually said this on Twitter the other day. I think hearing something from Jack Ryan in the lore would be really cool. He'd be quite old. I believe he'd be like roughly 75-ish in the current universe timestamp. But like even just hearing a battle pass audio which name drops Jack Ryan, you know, he's the ex-president in this universe at this point. If we just hear something GSAC related, or maybe even you know, Chavez and Ryan are on the GSAC, something like that would be very cool. But yeah, I definitely think we're heading back to Vegas. I think we might even get a map in Vegas. I think it could either be the convention center or like Calypso Casino from Vegas 1. I saw someone leave a really cool comment saying that, oh, well, if they were going to go back to Vegas, they should make Calypso Casino the core siege map and then make the Las Vegas Convention Center a dual front map. And I thought that was an absolutely brilliant idea. So yeah, make sure you're subbed for the entire Vegas 1 and 2 lore video, as well as the first game from 1999, which I'm currently working on as we speak. You know, Rogue Spear, Raven Shield, I'm going to do as much as I can. We're going to get all of that out. There is some weird times where like you have like a PC version of a game and a console version of the game, and like technically one's canon, the other one blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of, you know, old games used to do that for platforms. Now platforms are quite similar, that the same game gets released and everything. But back in the day, you used to have a different version for consoles, a different version for PC. And sometimes they change some stuff. So we're going to get the most accurate videos out as we can. I'm putting a lot of effort into them, so I hope you understand that they take time. But make sure you sub, make sure you're liked for when they do come. But yeah, what do you think about this theory? Do you think the Keres Legion were involved with the Vegas attacks? I think it's definitely likely. Be sure to let me know your thoughts and have an incredible rest of your day. I love you all. Stay safe.